Some creatures fight winter with fur, others migrate thousands of miles, and then there's a tiny brown frog from North America that just stops existing for months and somehow gets away with it. The wood frog doesn't hibernate like a bear, it doesn't burrow underground like a toad, and it doesn't head south like your uncle after a family reunion. It just lets the cold kill it. Well, almost. When the first serious frost hits, this frog goes full statue mode. Heart, silent. Blood, not moving. Lungs, as useful as a brick. It's basically a tiny amphibian paperweight. About 2/3 of the water in its body freezes into solid ice. Its skin gets crunchy. Pick it up, and it might actually clink if you tap it. The part that should make your jaw hit the floor? This isn't a fluke accident, it's the plan. The wood frog's body pulls a chemistry trick that could make a cryogenics lab jealous. Right before everything shuts down, it floods itself with glucose, yes, sugar, in massive doses. This sugar acts like biological bubble wrap, stopping the ice crystals from shredding its cells apart. Think of it like filling your veins with sweet antifreeze, except it's not deadly and we don't need a mechanic. All winter long, buried under leaves and snow, it just sits there, frozen solid, while blizzards roar overhead. No heartbeat, no breathing, no brain activity. And yet, it's not dead. It's on pause. Come spring, the snow melts, the temperature rises, and the frog thaws out. Heart starts beating, blood starts flowing, eyes open, and just like that, it's back. Stretching its legs like it just woke up from a lazy afternoon nap, instead of a months-long death freeze. Within hours, it's hopping around, finding food, and getting on with life like winter never happened. Scientists still can't fully wrap their heads around how it survives this without damage. If humans tried the same thing, we'd just crack like an ice cube dropped on the floor. The wood frog isn't just surviving in cold places like Alaska and Canada. It's thriving there. It's the earliest frog to wake up in spring, often starting to breed while snow is still on the ground. The rest of the animal kingdom is still yawning, and this frog is already handing out wedding invitations. It's a living, hopping reminder that nature sometimes skips the fight or flight rule and adds a third option. Freeze, literally. And honestly, if a frog can handle being a popsicle for months and come back fine, maybe you can handle your Monday mornings without complaining. But here's where things get even stranger. This frog's entire survival strategy is built for the cold. Its range stretches farther north than any other amphibian in North America, from Georgia all the way to the Arctic Circle. That means it deals with winters that last longer than some reality TV shows. While other frogs need permanent water to survive, the wood frog is perfectly happy living in forests, meadows, or even your backyard. As long as it has a pile of leaves to bury itself in when things get frosty. Those leaves? They're more than just a blanket. They act like nature's insulation, helping keep the frog frozen at a steady temperature. But don't think this frog is snoozing in comfort. The temperature can still drop to levels where exposed human skin would freeze in less than a minute. The frog's body, already stiff, is basically marinating in the cold for months. Now here's the sarcasm-worthy part. Other frogs that try to freeze without special adaptations, they die. Completely. End of story. So the wood frog isn't just doing something unusual. It's doing something that, for almost every other amphibian, is instant suicide. This freeze and thaw life comes with a big advantage. It can wake up fast. While other frogs are slowly crawling out of mud or making the long trip from a deep pond, the wood frog is already wide awake, ready to start breeding before competitors even realize winter is over. That early start matters. Its tadpoles need to grow quickly before temporary ponds dry up in summer heat. And speaking of tadpoles, the wood frog's kids are not exactly born into luxury. They hatch in shallow, cold water, often still surrounded by chunks of melting ice. It's a rough start to life, but the species has been doing it for tens of thousands of years, way longer than humans have been complaining about bad weather. Another fact worth your attention, that massive sugar rush it gives itself before freezing, it's not just in the bloodstream. The glucose gets pumped into the cells themselves, replacing water so ice can't form inside them. Ice outside the cells? Fine. Ice inside? Game over. The wood frog's cells basically become syrupy little bubbles, safe from the sharp edges of ice crystals. Scientists think understanding this trick could help with organ preservation for humans. Imagine if we could store hearts or kidneys for months without them rotting, all thanks to a frog that spends half the year pretending to be a frozen pea. Oh, and here's something that feels like nature showing off. When the frog thaws, it doesn't need weeks to recover. The heart starts beating within minutes. The brain sparks back to life. And within a single day, It's walking, hopping, and hunting insects, as though it didn't just spend the last 3 months looking like it belonged in a freezer aisle. The sarcasm practically writes itself. Other animals spend the winter doing warm, cozy things. Squirrels gathering food, bears cuddling in dens, birds chasing summer. The wood frog? Nah, I'll just let my body shut down, turn into ice, and hope I wake up in one piece, totally fine. And every year, it works. It doesn't need fancy burrows. It doesn't need to eat or drink, it just waits. A literal seasonal time traveler, skipping over winter entirely. So yes, somewhere right now, buried under snow in Alaska or Maine or northern Canada, there's a wood frog frozen solid. Not breathing, not blinking, not moving. Waiting for spring to flip the on switch. And in a few months it'll be back, hopping around like nothing happened, which honestly is kind of unfair. If humans freeze a steak, we worry about freezer burn. This frog freezes its entire self and wakes up ready to party. Now here's the part that almost feels like an extra plot twist. It doesn't even need to be frozen to survive extremes. In summer, if water gets scarce, the wood frog can survive dehydration by slowing its metabolism and reducing water loss. In other words, it can handle being too cold and too dry. If it ever starts breathing fire, we'll have to start calling it a mythical creature. The wood frog's call is another thing worth mentioning. In early spring, when there's still frost on the ground, males gather around ponds and start making a sound that's been compared to a quacking duck. Not exactly the romantic ballad you'd expect, but apparently it works, because females show up fast. The goal? Lay as many eggs as possible before predators catch on and before the ponds evaporate. Those eggs are laid in large clusters, often in sunlit parts of the pond so they warm up faster. That's crucial for the tadpole's development. Within weeks, the tadpoles hatch and start feeding on algae and plant material, racing against time before summer dries everything out. Predators? Oh, plenty. From snakes and birds to raccoons and even larger frogs, the wood frog is basically on everyone's menu. That's why its early breeding schedule is such a survival hack. Fewer predators are active in those chilly early weeks, giving the young a better chance. And while their lifespan isn't exactly impressive by human standards, about 3 years in the wild, it's long enough for them to keep the cycle going. That cycle has been repeated for countless generations, across changing climates, ice ages, and even human development. Now before you go, let's make a deal. You hit that subscribe button and I promise not to attempt freezing myself just to prove a point. This is Earthniverse, slowly building a video nature encyclopedia. Stick around, subscribe, and let's explore together.